Hello, Star Wars fans. Mando Mitchie back today, and we're going to be discussing this new project that I've started, and that is making custom Jabba's palace and Jabba's sail barge figure by the name of Kane Atis or Kane Atis. I'm not sure the exact pronunciation, but it's a figure that is in kind of seen in the behind the scenes footage of the palace for sure. Kind of that two-headed giraffe looking kind of alien monster or whatever. So what I decided once I built my Jabba's palace diorama, and check out that playlist, and then when I 3D printed and built the sail barge, the katana, that I wanted to kind of add some of those custom figures that weren't available. So two of them, more than two, but two of them that I knew that weren't really kit bashes, that were going to be something other than that, was one was Kane Atis and the other one was Loj Nella, or the Toadstool Terror. So as I went on that, looking for the figures, someone who was making those customs and that, I found, there was a few people selling those. One on Etsy, trash compactor. And for me, the international shipping was like, oh man, that's tough being located in the U.S. and in the Midwest where I'm at here. So got to looking as I've started 3D printing and creating some things that way, and I found a file, and I'll share all that in the video description here so that you can get that and give credit to that model or that originator. But I found this. And so differently than the other ones that I found, this guy is more of a creature. So you can see more of like a four-legged creature with a tail and, that. So found that file and I thought, I'm gonna give it a shot. So he does have the two heads, and there's some other options in that. So as you look at that, I think I paid in U.S. currency somewhere around $14. And so far, I've been very, very happy with how this has went. So I'm terrible at remembering to video parts of the process and the projects that I'm doing. So I'm going to show some pictures of what I guess the 3D printed parts: the legs, the torso, the tail, the necks, the head. So this does have articulation at all four legs, the tail, both necks, and both heads. And so I guess the difference on this is, like, from you look at some of the other models, they kind of have the creature standing on its hind legs, I guess, and then it has like some hands. So I guess it's all up to a person's interpretation. And my thought is, if Hasbro makes this, or I find something else I like that is just as cool or cooler, then I'll move this thing to another display and use it somewhere else. I mean, I think this kind of thing could be cool, and in the background of Dagobah, or I mean, you could make it a desert creature, and you could park it so many different places and use it, in so many different dioramas and scenes. So yes, I thought no matter what, but I really like the look of this so far. So what I did was 3D printed all the parts, PLA, just regular 3D printing, white, gray and white, I think was the filament that we had in the printer when we did this. So did the prints, had to do the typical sanding, and kind of went through that. And then my goal was, I wanted it to be kind of that yellow that I'd seen, and that this thing has kind of those giraffe kind of like aesthetic markings to it. So I wanted to go on with like those brown and black spots. So my plan was, I wanted to go yellow, but I just didn't want just yellow. So since I knew that I could probably lay in some different colors and fade in that with the airbrush, then I kind of went and took this approach. So what I did was, this has three different colors in it as it fades in from darker to lighter from the legs up. And I did a little bit of that with the neck and the head pieces too. So so with that, I'm going to show what I did, and this is still in the works, but wanted to finally do a video showing at least this part forward. But if you're interested, the paints, I did the Vallejo, that's the 72.005 Moon Yellow. That was the base coat, did everything in that base yellow. Then I went in with the 72006, the Sun Yellow, and you can see as that fades from the top of the torso down a little bit darker. And then this is more of an orange, what I would call an orange yellow. So the gold yellow, the 72007. So if you're interested, I know Amazon I ordered this set, and I'm always great to have more paints the better in my mind. That way I've got them around. But you can see, yeah, it's got that. So that is an option if you were inclined to maybe pick those up or use whatever you have. So my next step is I'm going to do a wash over the entire thing. Probably like a burnt umber and black and some green, just kind of wash to bring in that definition and that depth, that value in all the textures and that on the creature. Then I want to go in and like the nails, the claws on the legs, I want to go in black and detail all that out, and then start to lay in some of the colors on the body. You can see the different ribbed bumps and things that would be, not really horns, but all that texture on this alien. And then also want to lay in those spots. So the mouth, the eyes on the heads, and you can see there's two different heads, which is, I think, kind of accurate to what we know of Caenatus. And before I wrap up this video, I want to talk a little bit more about who we think Caenatus is. And I know one thing that I'd read is they thought that possibly Caenatus was one of the pilots for the Katana, the sail barge, as Jabba's luxury sail barge would take its trips to the Sarlacc pit, and that he was one of the pilots. Well, that theory in my canon, my lore here can't be, because there's no way. And I guess maybe this guy could stand up on its back legs and drive. And I don't know how a big, huge two-headed monster would fit in any sail barges that we've seen, the way that we've interpreted that and made that. So I don't know, but I want to talk a little bit more before we're done in who Caenatus was. And he's I don't know if you guys do the March Madness where you pick your top 25, but Caenatus is on my list. There's a number of people from Jabba's sail barge and Jabba's palace on my list. But all right, so let me keep going here, and we'll start doing the details, and I'll bring you along in the process as we go through this. All right, a few more steps along here in the process. So what I did, went ahead and went in with a wash, like a typical wash that I do when I'm kind of adding texture and that. And so did that. I usually mix up like burnt umber, some black and green, and then have a method that I like on that. So went in and then painted the eyes, and then just wanted to add some depth in that. So yeah, so we've got the mouth, the eyes looking pretty good, the spots, and I wanted just kind of a leathery reptilian kind of feature and aesthetic on that. It looks pretty scaly. Even some of the 3D print lines kind of add to that, kind of that dried out amphibian type look to it. So yeah, I think I'm, without having a ton of source material to look at, pretty happy. But you can see he's got kind of those warty, like horny, like those rough areas on his skin, and then on the legs, and detailed out the claws. So you can kind of see where the yellow fades up. And I did some dry brushing at the end to kind of clean up some of the areas and some more spots on the tail. So yeah, I think that kind of thinking that through this out loud. I've already got the spots picked out in the palace and on the barge. I'm going to put Canetus, and might have like, if you're not familiar in 3D printing, you can scale something up or down. So I printed this at the actual that 3.75 size that the model art net said, but I might even considered maybe doing like 80-90% maybe to scale it back a little bit to fit, because it's going to take up a good little bit of real estate, in that too. But overall, I like him. So what I'm going to do is I just finished up some dry brushing on the on it. So now we're going to be looking at assembly, and then I think clear coat and any kind of wrapping up any details that I see as I look over it one more time. So final assembly, clear coat, and then we'll be putting him into the displays on the barge and in the palace. So, and then going over some Canetus biography, I guess, some background, some bio on who this creature was in Jabba's crime syndicate, and why he would have been in the palace, maybe on the barge, and that. So, all right, let's keep going. All right, here is my custom interpretation, and I did a little research on Caneatus, and looks like the species is a Uvernian from the planet Uvern. Two heads. I guess from what I found, there's two different heads, which this model does have. Some of the images I found, he looks very giraffe-like with different spots, and so I don't know if I captured that really or not. But I think whatever it is that I made will serve quite well until maybe Hasbro does something, and who knows, maybe he ends up appearing in other media or something like that. We could see him. But yeah, so I've got the clear coat on, so I really like the way these kind of got that reptilian skin, that texture. I think the matte clear coat really set that up nice. Both of them are a little bit different as far as the way that I went about in the finish ultimately. But yeah, both of them have the two different heads, which is, according to lore, the same. And I heard somewhere that there was rumor that the Caneatus was a pilot. And like I said, there's no way these guys are piloting a sail barge or a spaceship in this species, like how they're made here, body type and that. So I don't know. I know the other one that I've seen has a little more like opposable thumbs and hands, but doesn't really look like a pilot. There's no barge or anything that I've ever seen made where these guys are sitting in a pilot seat and piloting at all, or other aircraft typically that we see in the Star Wars. So I don't know how that would work necessarily. Maybe they had custom ships that they piloted. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, so yeah, so that's going what I found. Not a lot about these guys as I looked on Wikipedia and did some other research through Google search and on YouTube and that. So not a lot out there. Just kind of a neat background character that was spotted in Jabba's palace. I just thought that Caneatus was on the sail barge. So you will see as I get into the next part of this video, I am going to place him in kind of in the background of the sail barge and in the background of the palace. I already moved some things around and got that ready. So let's get him in place and seeing how. Okay, let's take a look at Caneatus in the palace. So just, you can see, if you didn't watch my Jabba's Palace diorama build video playlist, you might go check that out. We've got pretty much all the court denizens and goons and in his crime syndicate empire here present. Other than the other one that I do want to get is Lognella, the Toadstool Terror. So that's going to be a next project. But let's look at the figure we just finished. So I've got him tucked back there in the back. Caneatus. So cool. Until Hasbro makes one, or maybe I find another file I like better than this to print and create, I am happy to have him in the palace. So Cain Atus. All right. So let's take a look and see where I placed him at in the sail barge. Here is the sail barge that I 3D printed this winter. So definitely check that playlist out. Well, I'm starting to populate it. I will do a final video once I've got all my figures in place and that. But you can see, I really like, see the lights that I put in. They're not just LEDs, they're actually fixtures that I had 3D printed, and I wanted to make the wiring look like it would have been, you know, kind of industrial up through that. But anyway, so let's look at who we came to see. And actually, this is the Vintage Collection Jabba. I just got him for this. He was, you know, they just re-released that set again. So yeah. So all right. So I tucked the big guy in the back. So it's rumored that Cain Atus was on the barge when they went to the Sarlacc pit to have Han Solo, Chewbacca, Luke Skywalker executed. So, yep, got him tucked right back there. Can't see him a lot, but that was a piece of real estate I was willing to give up. So yeah, and I'm still finishing building out these figures for this, and I'm not quite done yet. You can see there are some notable misses on this still that I'm working on. This takes time and money, right? Time and money to be a collector. So yeah, you can see I've got the deck lights. Those turned out really, really cool. I'm going to have Skiff 1, I'm going to have a Skiff 2 here, and then I'm going to have a Sarlacc pit right there. I've already got that purchased, and you can see lights in the rear in the engines there, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, yep. So Cain Atus. Lode Janela's next. I'll have another video on him, and then kind of finalizing my Jabba's Palace and Jabba's Sail Barge. So hey, if you've not already subscribe to the channel. You're going to see more custom figures, dioramas, custom builds like this sail barge, just things that I love to do in world building and that. Restorations, I like to take old Kenner ships, playsets, and that. You can see, if you've not checked that out, ooh, that's one of my favorites, but the Twin Death Stars, really, really cool. So you might want to check that out as well. And let's not forget my Hoth diorama right there. Pretty cool. So Cantina's going to be there, Endor, Tatooine, and then ultimately where those Death Stars are, I think now I'm going to do a Clone Wars with the HasLab gunship and a Death Star floor-to-ceiling diorama display over there in that area too. But anyway, getting off topic. So if you've not, please like, please subscribe, turn the notifications on. You'll be notified of when I drop new videos and content comes out. And I love collecting Star Wars. I love curating, all that stuff. And if you enjoy that too, I think you're going to like my channel. So if you would, like and subscribe. Again, thank you so much for your investment of your time and watching. This is Mando Mitchie. God bless you all. We'll see you next time. Signing